Welcome to the In My Opinion Show with Ronald Barrington Robinson and friends. Seen on the internet 24 hours, 7 days a week. We're also seen on Flint Channel 17 every Saturday at 6 p.m. and every Wednesday at 8:30. We're also seen on Detroit, Channel 68. That's a Detroit channel, has no affiliation with Comcast. Every Sunday at 9. We're also seen downriver on Channel 20 every Tuesday and Saturday. Welcome to the In My Opinion Show. To our millions of viewers worldwide, we have a special guest, Miss Joelena Freeman.
Hi.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's talk about the Flint water disaster, okay? Flint's once thrived as the home of the nation's largest General Motors plant. No more, because it's located in Mexico and China. The city's economic decline began during the 1980s when GM downsized. In 2011, the state of Michigan took over Flint finances after an audit projected a $25 million deficit. In order to reduce the water fund shortage, the city announced that the new pipeline would be built to deliver water from Lake Huron to Flint. In 2014, while it was under construction, the city turned to the Flint River as a water source. Soon after the switch, residents said the water started to look and smell and taste funny. I lived in Flint at that time, and it was smelly, and it did look funny. Okay, it was like drinking mud sometimes.
Absolutely.
But I never drank it. Okay, tests in 2015 by the Environmental Protection Agency and the Virginia Tech indicated dangerous levels of lead in the water at residents' homes. People, there is no permissible level of lead in your body. So when you hear this, well, parts per million, et cetera, or parts by billion, there's no permissible level of lead should be in your body, period.
Right.
A class action lawsuit charged that the state wasn't treating the water with an anti-corrosive agent in violation of federal law. As a result, the water was eroding the iron water mains, turning the water brown. Additionally, about half of the service lines to homes in Flint are made of lead because the water wasn't properly treated. Lead began to leach into the water supply in addition to the iron. Overall, more than a dozen lawsuits, including several additional class action suits, were filed against Michigan and the city of Flint, as well as various state and city officials and employees involved in that decision to switch the water source. Timeline: March 22, 2012, Genesee County announced a new pipeline is being designed to deliver water from Lake Huron to Flint. The plan is to reduce costs by switching the city water supply from the Detroit Water and Sewage Department, DWSD, to the Water Authority, which is KWA. April 16th, 2013, on the City Council's recommendation, Andy Dillon, the state treasurer, authorized Flint to make the switch to Flint River water. I hope when the deal comes down, he'll be one of the ones that spends a little time in Jackson Prison. April 25th, 2014, switch to water from the Flint River takes place. August 14, 2014, the city announced fecal bacterium has been detected in the water. Now, who wants to drink, body waste? It's ridiculous. Okay, we hear about people in the third world countries doing that. Okay, that should not have ever happened in America, in Flint especially. Mm-hmm. September 4th, 2014, the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, the MDEQ, issued a governor's briefing paper outlining possible causes for the contamination issues. Among the problems are leaking valves and aging cast iron pipes, susceptible to the buildup of bacteria. The Michigan Department of Environmental Quality concluded flushing the system and increasing chlorine in the water will limit the number of boil water advisors in the future. It didn't eliminate anything, okay, because it's still there in many homes in Flint, and we're in 2019, okay?
Right.
If this situation had happened in any other area that was maybe prominent, as opposed to Flint's well, for the lack of word, depressive area, okay, which is terrible, because I have seen a decline in Flint as well as anybody else that has lived in Flint. First, it was, Flint at one time was the tops in wages, okay, but then when the powers that be, and I blame the leaders up there in Flint, the mayors and so forth, all right, spending more time in the golf course as opposed to taking care of the people's business, this is what you see, okay? At one point when I first came to Flint, I could go way up there on the north side, and there was nothing but plants. Now you go up there, a wasteland, all right? A wasteland.
Right.
In fact, General Motors plant in Flint stopped using the city water due to concerns about high levels of chlorine corroding engine parts. The company strikes a deal with a neighboring township to purchase water from Lake Huron in lieu of using water from the Flint River. The switch is anticipated to cost the city $400,000. January 15, the city warns residents the water contains byproducts of disinfectant that may cause health issues, including an increased risk for cancer over time. The water is deemed safe for the general population, which was a lie.
Absolutely.
Okay? And It's still a lie.
Still.
I don't care what the powers that be up there in City Hall tell you now, all right? It's still poisonous. Don't drink it. And the thing is how many bottles of water does it take to take a bath? Okay? It's ridiculous. And I'm glad for Nestle's, all right, supplying that water, but they're supplying it out of the lake, and that's the people's water.
Right.
Anyway, all right, and
Selling it back to us.
go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying that they sell it back to us.
Yes,
They only have to pay $200 a year, while we have over $200 bills per month
exactly.
for poison water, on top of having to buy bottled water because they stopped the water at the pods. Handing us water.
Mm-hmm. And that's crazy. Okay, it's just a money game as far as I'm concerned. That's my opinion. All right.
Right.
And how do people living in a civilized society put up with this foolishness? Okay, I don't understand it. I wish the powers that be in Flint, the citizens. Okay, if you make enough noise, all right. Get up there at that city hall and demonstrate. Go to Lansing, okay, and demonstrate. All right. If you have to go up there every week, go up there, make change. Okay, we the people can make change, and that's what you have to do. Because the powers that be, without aggravation, they're not going to do anything. Okay. We'll move ahead just a little bit here. March 23rd, 2015, Flint City Council members voted 7-1 to stop using the river water and to reconnect with Detroit. However, state-appointed emergency manager Jerry Ambrose, his ass, hopefully he goes to jail too, overrules the vote, calling it incomprehensible. But I bet you he didn't have to drink that water or take baths, all right, or anything. And any of his family members, I bet you, didn't have to drink colored water. I mean, some people in Flint probably pay $400 or $500 a month for water, and you can't use it. You can't drink it.
You can't use it, no.
All right, because I've seen some pictures. A lot of the residents, they have scabs and scars.
Absolutely.
And
they have real health damages from this water,
Mm-hmm.
from the skin to the insides,
exactly
to our brains.
Exactly.
That will never go away, because lead does not go out of your system, no matter how much healthy food they try to tell you that you can eat to get rid of. You cannot get rid of lead. You can minimize lead intake by eating, certain vegetables and things like that, but you cannot rid yourself of any lead that you've already been contaminated with.
Exactly.
It stays forever.
Forever, folks. Forever.
And that, that you can pass that along to your babies. It gets into your DNA. And, we have residents who are afraid to even have children because they've been diagnosed with high lead levels, and they know that if they have a child, their child very well may be affected, whether it be developmentally disabled or, not just not fully developing well, a developmental delay. All kinds of things can definitely happen from being, having lead in your DNA, lead part of your body. That shouldn't happen. Shouldn't happen anywhere.
And to take that a step further, women that are nursing, okay, that goes into that baby's body as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So be careful for those nursing mothers out there, and for anybody else that's drinking that shit.
And not only the nursing mothers, but just expecting mothers, because we've had mothers. I have a friend who has been interviewed several times because she actually lost a couple of sets of twins, and she's not the only one. And the gruesome facts is that when these babies are born, their bodies are all together, but the insides are jelly.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And they're not viable babies. So that's what the water crisis is doing to us. Is it's minimizing our growth. We need to still be able to grow, and we cannot grow with lead. That just stops. You can't have babies like that. You can't have healthy babies, and we deserve to have healthy babies, living healthy babies, lead-free.
Exactly. And in lieu of the bad, the poison water, the United Nations has deemed, Flint not a good place at this time, okay, in order, to raise your family because of this this disaster with the with the water. And it's going to be around for a long, long time. See, it's not just the people that live in Flint, but you got to take into consideration the students, all right, that are in town. I mean, that come here to study,
exactly.
All right, people that come here to visit,
business owners,
doctors, lawyers, anybody that drinks this stuff.
Yeah, visitors and residents, all people who used to live here who have ended up moving away, such as, some of my friends have done that. And, we're trying to make sure that we can also fight for Medicare for all so that the people who have left our city and who are not under, these Medicaid guidelines where they've offered to help the residents with medical because of the water crisis. If you move outside of the Genesee County, or maybe it's outside of Michigan, you don't receive that help anymore. And so we want to make sure that everyone can have, free health care for all, so that you don't, get stuck not being able to have health care.
Absolutely,
with
absolutely.
These issues that will turn up later on in life. They may not be visible today, but you will have things that show up later on in life that could very well be contributed to the water crisis.
Exactly, in your liver, okay, and,
right.
and the fat in your body, all right, where once it gets in your fat in your body, it may not ever leave.
Right.
Okay.
It won't leave. It may decide to settle in another part of your body, but it won't leave. It just can't.
And Flint has had so much difficulty, okay, in its history, all right, from one of the top cities in the United States in terms of wealth back in the 60s and 70s, okay, and I use this word, all right. Flint went from sugar to shit, all right, and that's something I used to hear my parents say, all right,
yeah.
But that's my opinion.
I've coined the term Flint Poison City, USA.
Okay, Flint Poison USA.
Flint Poison City, USA. That's where we live. That's where we're from. We're still in a water crisis. It's been 5 years. April 25th this year, in just a couple of weeks, marks the 5-year date as of when they first switched the water to the Flint River and poisoned an entire city of people.
Yeah.
And so we'll be having a commemoration of those who have died and those who have been infected, which is everyone. So it's a celebration of everyone who, well, not a celebration, it's more of a commemoration. We want to remember the victims, everyone who has died, and those people who have been affected directly, which is pretty much everyone who lives in Flint. And we've all been poisoned by this water, not only exposed, but poisoned. And we're going to be going on the 25th to Lansing, to our state capital, to raise our voices. Like you said, we're going to be loud, and we're going to raise our voices and let them know that, we're still in a crisis. We still need lots of things. We cannot talk about moving forward until the residents in Flint have been made whole. We want to be declared a disaster area so that we can get more funding because, as we all know, this was a man-made disaster. Excuse me, it's not just a crisis, but it is a disaster, and it's still ongoing. And, it's a disaster of a huge magnitude. It's not a little deal. No one in United States have ever had to deal with this. This is, precedented. And so we really need to make sure that the residents of Flint are taken care of, and we need to be a model for the rest of the United States. So they can follow in our footsteps and make sure that they all have clean water, and they're changing their pipes, and they're having, being paid attention. The residents in those cities who have poison water or lead in their water, we want to make sure that these residents are taken care of, health-wise and monetary-wise, because people should be compensated here in Flint for this mass poisoning, which we are all still suffering from every day.
And I look at this too, this situation with this disaster with the drinking water. All right, I don't believe, and I hate to bring in the race card, okay, but Flint is majority African American. Okay, now my thinking is, if this was a white community, would this have occurred? I don't think so. Okay, you can look around the country at different situations that occur. Okay, it seems like the government is there for other races. Mm-hmm. What brings to mind is your president. He is not my president, Trump. Okay, I live in America, but I don't consider this man respectable whatsoever. And hopefully, real soon, breaking news today, he's going to have to show his tax returns, and that'll show the world him collaborating with whomever, probably mainly the Russians. But getting back to this disaster with the Flint River water, okay. November 13, 2015, residents filed a federal class action lawsuit claiming 14 state and city officials, including Governor Snyder, knowingly exposed Flint residents to toxic water. Flint declares a state of emergency. And I'm hoping that former Governor Snyder goes to prison, because it was his okay, all right, things go downhill, mm-hmm. All right. He was the one that made that decision, okay? But he didn't have to drink this water, okay? He's in Lansing, or he's in his mansion up there in Ann Arbor, overlooking the Huron River.
Right. Very
palatial place, okay?
And made a law that we couldn't even sue him.
Yeah.
How do you be a governor and make a law after you poison a bunch of people to say that you can't sue me now?
Right.
I poisoned you all, but you don't get to sue me. Yeah. I think that was just...
Well, that's changing.
Such a slap in the face. It is changing, but it's only for a certain group of the residents who are in the lawsuit, not all.
Well,
So we need to work on making it all, but it's one step.
Well, you couldn't sue him
Yeah.
because they have this whatever it is when you're in
Community of some
office.
kind.
But as a private citizen, all right, I believe he's going to lose. He's going to lose big time.
Yeah.
Okay, you can sue him. He can be sued, people. So take up the battle.
Yes, absolutely. Look into that to find out if you are part of the group that can sue Governor Snyder now. So
There's some excellent attorneys in Flint. Okay, and we have one on. In fact, we have one on our program too. Okay. So
right. Yeah, you can contact the NRDC. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. NRDC or the ACLU of Michigan. They are the attorneys that are a couple of the attorneys that are over the water crisis, and which we will be having too on the 27th. The update on your lawsuits, if anyone wants to know about that, and you guys can contact Flint H2O Justice on Facebook. And if you want more information on that, but we will be having some updates on for the residents. If you guys want to come out on April 27th, we'll have a time and more specific details about that coming up. But if you just stay tuned to Flint H2O Justice Facebook page, those details will be posted shortly.
Good. So write this information down that that we're sharing with you folks out there, and because there's a battle going on with this disaster of Flint River water, okay, and it's not going to be solved immediately because it's in the 5th year now. All right, it might take another 2 years, hopefully, and to get this situation resolved. December 20th, 2016. 4 officials, 2 of Flint's former emergency managers were reported directly to the governor, and 2 water plant officials are charged with felonies of false pretenses and conspiracy. I hope they go to prison.
Yes.
Okay? So
if you can get a chance to find out what the court dates are for Nick Lyons' case or any of those cases, Jerry Ambrose, all of those guys, definitely go and show your support, because the judge is definitely looking to see who shows up.
exactly.
And we show up in numbers, not on all days, but we try to come together as much as we can to show up to these court dates and hearings, so that we have a presence, and the judge knows that there is there's people out here who care about the situation and care about what is happening with these folks that are being charged.
What courtroom would they be attending? Is that down in Detroit Federal Court or the federal building in
now
Flint?
it's kind of, you have to look, because they're depending on who we're talking about, the cases are different. Some are in circuit court now, like I think Jerry Ambrose has moved to circuit court, but Nick Lyons, I think, is still is not that far yet. Like they're still like delaying stuff, still lots of delays. But just pay attention to the news. You can call down to the various courthouses and see. But a lot of times, MLive will post when the dates will be. You just kind of got to pay attention to the news when they post about the water crisis.
Because Dave Bondi, he posts a lot of that stuff.
Yes, Ron Fonger, he is probably your best bet. He's the one that does a lot. I did a panel with him also, him and Kurt Goya, and they were very knowledgeable about the dates and stuff like that, those kind of things. They keep in direct contact with people so they can stay up to date, keep the residents up to date the best they can.
It's important, people, to be abreast of this information, okay? So that hopefully we can get some justice, all right, here in Flint, because this crisis is all over the world. Okay, it's not just local here in Flint, Michigan. People all around the world know about the poison water crisis here in Flint. Okay, and you have millions rooting, for a positive outcome here in Flint, and it should not have ever happened.
Right. anyone that I would say that anyone that does support the residents here, we are asking you to write your congressmen, write your legislators, anyone who you can get a meeting with, please do so. You don't have to be anybody special to do this. You can call up as a resident, just as a person with no kind of title. You can do this on your own. You have the power. We all, as residents, have the power to get stuff moving. So they just need to know that there's a lot of people that support this kind of thing. So if you can get out and either meet with your legislators and congressmen and people who are running for mayor, like we have, lots of people for running for mayor this year, and we want you to encourage them to run based on things that support you and your family. I want someone who's going to support the water crisis and the people here who are still in a crisis. And so if you're not going to be supporting us on that, we probably won't be giving you our votes, since we are going to be making you work for our votes. And we want to hold you to the fire that you are going to take care of us. And, just get out there and please talk to your people, write them, email them, give them letters, call them, however you can. Set up press conferences with your groups, speak on it. The more we speak on it, the more we will be heard.
And talk to your, as Joelena was saying, get with your elected officials, okay? Here in Flint you have I forgot his name.
Do you mean like Sheldon Neely?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Sheldon Neely. Get with him, and if you got to write him every day.
Right.
Okay, and when you see him out and about, okay, say, hey, look, enough is enough. Mm-hmm. Okay, what are you doing? What are you doing in Lansing? Right. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Put the pressure on them, people.
And anybody else, and your congressperson, whomever that is, Kildee.
Yes, Dan Kildee. Anyone who will listen. Debbie Stabenow, Nancy Pelosi.
Exactly.
All these people who have been fighting for us, and they have been made mention of the Flint water crisis. Hold them to the fire. Put them to the test. Flint residents need to be made whole, and if they're not talking that, then we need to move on. Is what I say.
Exactly.
And find someone who will.
October 12, 2017, the House Oversight Committee sends a letter to Snyder requesting clarification regarding his sworn testimony that he did not learn about the outbreak of Legionnaire's disease in Flint until 2016. He's a liar.
Absolutely.
Okay, he's a liar. All right?
They all knew. They were getting water before the residents and stacking it up in buildings for the employees.
Yep.
I mean, they knew.
Because when I was working, when I was doing some legal work for the Flint branch of the NAACP, I was one of their persons that went out, hopefully, and settled some cases. All right. Mm-hmm. When I would go to the state building up there in 2014, they had bottled water then. All right. Mm-hmm. Snyder made the decision, so don't let people get it twisted or get you twisted.
Right.
Snyder had the power. He's the one that did it. All right.
Absolutely. I just wanted to mention too that when you guys are writing and asking your representatives about Flint, please mention that you would like for them to, open some water pods. We need to be having water delivered available for us Flint residents, because we cannot be paying this high water bill. We have in Flint the highest water rates in the nation, not just in Michigan, but in the nation.
With that, unfortunately, we got to bring the In My Opinion shows to a close, but to pay attention to what we have talked about on this show, and God be with you. This is Ronald Barrington Robinson and friends saying, until next time, stay focused.